Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Sabi Abi and I'll be taking the first part of today's analysis, which will be covering commodity currencies. Those are AUD USD, NZD USD, and USD CAD. Shortly after which we're then going to look into indices as well. But before we proceed, I'd like to implore us to please share this link with more people so that more people get to join these market color sessions that we host here at the VFT Academy on a daily basis, all right? I see a couple of us online. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is so great to have everyone here.
Pàtí ẹ̀gbọ́n méjì ẹ̀gbọ́n tó lọ ṣe nígbà yẹn pọ̀ àbí.
All right, we're back. Please, for those of us who are currently unmuted, kindly mute yourself so that we don't get distracted during the course of this analysis. Okay, I see us online. Good morning, Mr. Kolade, Ageni, Adeniro. Good morning, good morning, good morning. God's time, Mr. Stanley, Pwan TV, and another Mr. Stanley. Good morning, everyone. Okay, without wasting so much more time, let's go into the business of the day. Starting with AUD USD, today I'm going to be using market structure. For those of us who have joined us a couple of times, you know I predominantly use the all-weather strategy. So I'm looking at AUD USD on the monthly time frame now, and the first thing I want to see is where price currently is and where it is trading off of, right? So predominantly, structure has been consecutively to the downside, respecting all of the lower lows and lower highs being formed, right? So giving me more insights that on the monthly, this is more to the downside. Going to the weekly time frame now, you'd see that even switching back to the line charts, we have consecutive lower lows, lower highs being printed, but there was a change of character around here. Why do I say so? In a downward market, we want to see continuous lower highs being printed, but price came and took out the structure point. So having that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and mark out this pattern that I've noticed right around the zone, and then keep my eye out on the next level, which is right around this point, to see what price does when it trades into this level. Are you going to take it out when you trade into the zone, or are you going to keep forming to the downside, right? So people are looking at, there's a temporal change of character around here. I have that in mind. On the daily time frame, same thing. Price kept selling and selling and selling and selling, came here, give us a lower high, failed to give us a lower low, traded above. This is our change of character. And if you look, zoom in a bit, you see that although this looks a bit choppy, it still took out a structure point because we saw price traded above, give us a good enough retracement around this level. Go ahead and mark that out as a confirmatory break of structure to the upside. And even better, if you want to even be on the safer side, you can go ahead and mark out from all the way here into the current price movement. Still, price took out the structure level. So because I've seen this, I'm going to go ahead and mark out the zone where, rather, the last candle before we saw the structure point, second confirmatory break of structure happened, which is right here. So mark that out. It is a level I'm looking at to see what price does when it eventually returns into that level. On the 4-hour time frame, 4-hour time frame, the same thing that we saw, just that we have more data on this particular time frame. The change of character happened here. Price was selling, gave us a change of character and a confirmatory break of structure. However, if you're looking at this, you see that price is already selling off this confirmatory break of structure here. It's already buying, already bought from this particular level. And then when price came here, gave us a lower low, a lower high, and failed to continue giving. So there was another change of character on this particular zone, but to the downside. However, we have not seen a confirmatory break of structure from this zone. So mark this zone out. Because this move has already happened, we're now going to be marking this level out to see when price comes to break out this zone, so that way we now have a confirmatory break of structure. Remember, this is a change of character. But now looking back at it, you could also see that the first level where price ought to have given us a higher high was here. So this looks like our first change of character, with the second level we initially marked being the confirmatory break of structure. So I'm going to correct that. This is the change of character. this is the breakout structure, and this is the swing level that took our price from that particular price point, and that is where price happens to be at. You can see it hasn't traded fully into that level, but you can see where price is now reacting off of. So what am I thinking is going to happen on AUD USD? I'm thinking there's going to be a temporal buy, more buys into the 4-hour POI, which we just marked out, and then we're now going to see a push downward. Just wait a second for this to load up. Perfect. So on the 2-hour time frame, you see that we have more data, right? Change of character, breakout structure. This was the other, there's another block or a doji candle right here, where price should eventually retrace into and most likely react from. So we have that marked out. Pay attention to this zone. When price gets here and we see confirmations, we're going to be selling AUD USD from this particular level and targeting the next breakout structure. Selling from here, targeting next one, right? Same thing on the H1 time frame. Same thing we're looking at. We want to see what it does. But then because of trading market structure, you want to pay attention to every time where there was a change of character and a break of structure. And looking at this, even though price has now retraced, you see that when it was retracing, it gave us a new change of character right here. It was a new change of character right here. And this is looking like a current break of structure of this zone. But it hasn't fully broken. This candle has not closed yet. But if this candlestick happens to trade into this zone, then it would have properly taken out this structure point. What will we now be expecting price to do? Same thing, the zone that we initially marked out, this was a change of character, came back here. We'll now be looking at somewhere around this zone for price to sell into, somewhere around this zone, right? So price is going to most likely push into this level and then sell into this zone first. If it is able to take out this level, then it will be trading into the next one. So that's what I'm looking out for on AU. For NZD USD, I'm sure they'll be quite similar with a slight difference. But let's look at that. Kindly mute yourselves, please, so you don't cause distraction. If you have any questions, you could always type in the chat box and, I would look at it, read it out and answer the question. I don't think that was a question though. It seemed like a passive conversation. Okay, on NZD/USD on the monthly time frame, same thing we saw on AU. Structure was being printed to the downside, continue breaking structure points, right? Okay, we have that in mind. Now to the weekly. On the weekly, this was the last lower high and price sold and came and gave us. This could be a lower low that is printed because it has not taken out this one. So I am watching to see what price does. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out this level as well on the weekly time frame. If this is going to be a lower low, then we should see NZD/USD continue to sell from here, respect structure. But if not, and price happens to break above this zone, then to be safe to say we've seen a break of structure and should start doing what we ought to do, flow with the market, right? So I'm looking at this now. Let's go to the daily for more data. On the daily time frame, you can see where the first change of character happened. It kept selling, came here, gave us a lower high, lower low, lower high. This also have given us a lower low, but there was a change of character right around this zone. And then a break of structure, a confirmatory break of structure around this level. But you can see that that level has already been tapped into and traded from. So let's pay attention to what is currently happening now. So we now saw our new change of character around here. And a confirmatory break of structure around here. So because of what I've seen now, I'll go ahead and mark out starting from the doji candle, which you see right here, mark it out. Price already tapped in though. You see how precise market structure is. Price tapped in already and bought from that level. So let us now look at the most recent movement. This has already been tapped into. This is a new break of structure that has happened around this zone. So mark out. So for marking this out now, this now becomes a new level where price could begin to trade from, not the most preferred. So we'll go on H4 to see more pictures, but you can see that price is trading off of a particular level now. So H4, what is H4 saying to us? On the H4 time frame, this was where we saw a change of character, the first one, and a confirmatory break of structure around the zone. So you see the level that we marked out on the daily is even more clearer on the H4 time frame. So price is currently buying off of a level, but where is it going to buy into before we see the sell resume? We need to pay attention to that as well. And looking at this from the July 25th, you see that when price was buying, it came here, it gave us a new structure point, but happened to change character around here. right? When price gave us the high, the lower high, or higher low rather, higher high, it came and gave us this zone. So this took out this particular point. That's our change of character and our breakout structure. So is price going to retrace or buy into this zone before we see a sell resumed? Very likely. So I'm looking at price buying back in here. And if it buys back in here, if not, this is the next level it's going to be buying into. I'm going to mark that out. It's going to be buying into this next level. So this is what I think would happen on these asset classes. On the 2-hour time frame, I'm sure it's the same thing. It's currently buying or reacting off of this level, right? Already reacting off of this level. So we're seeing a buy from where NZD USD is all the way in here, and then a possible sell resumption, provided this level holds, a possible sell position from this downward. Right, okay, so we now have NZD USD, AUD USD. We know what we're watching out for. Let's also quickly look at USD CAD. USD CAD has been buying. Let me know if you have any questions so far, please. Just type it in the chat box. If you're flowing and you're understanding, also let me know, so that the moment I'm done, I can just quickly jump into answering the question before we move into the other part. If this is also very helpful to you, please drop an emoji in the chat box so that I know that I'm actually passing information and not just talking to myself. So USD CAD on the monthly has been buying consecutively, except to see this level taken out on monthly before we say, okay, maybe we want to see, or maybe we will be seeing a possible sell fully resumed. But this is the monthly, so it takes a lot of time. Let's go on weekly to see more data. On the weekly time frame, we kept buying. This also have given us, when price came back here, it also have given us a higher high. It was going to keep respecting the characteristic patterns of a buy market. However, we saw a sell, a change of character around this zone. Price sold, gave us some sort of retracement, and then broke this zone, but it is not so clear on the weekly time frame. I'm sure we'll go on the H4 or daily, we'll see clearer. But looking at this now, where we had the first change of character and the confirmatory break of structure, this is what I could be marking out. I'll be marking out rather, to see, are you going to buy back into this zone? Is it going to be something like this? And then, break to take out the structure points if the sell is going to hold, or are we going to buy breakout through this and continue respecting our overall market structure? On the daily time frame, now from February, it predominantly has been to the downside. You see where we saw our first change of character, and the breakout structure that was not so clear on the weekly is way clearer on the daily. So this zone is still very much valid for me. I want to see price trade into this zone, but before price gets in here, there was another breakout structure around this zone, which created a new level. Although it looks as though price already tapped from that zone downward. Let's mark it and see. You can see price already tapped into that level and sold from there. So if this zone is not fully respected, or if this zone rather has already been tapped into and traded off of, I'm expecting it to trade back into this level, and then we're going to start selling. Also, you pay attention to the fact that there is liquidity around that level. So price may trade a bit upward into this fair value gap first. You may trade a bit upward into the liquidity zone right there, tap into it, maybe cover the entire thing or 50% of it before it starts to sell. On H4, what do we see? So this is where we're expecting price to buy back into, right? Okay, so should price want to retrace, where do we think it's going to retrace from? We have a new change of character around here. This breakout structure is sort of choppy, but it still took out that structure point. So this now makes it a new zone that price could sell into continuously. Just tap in here and then we'll see the buy up above, even on the 2-hour time frame as well. Change of character, breakout structure, our other block, doji candles, all traded or hanging around that zone. Are you going to come in here and then start to buy from? We'll see. But these are the levels I'm watching out for. So let's see what price does. Pretty much covered all 3 of the commodity currencies we're looking at. So if you have any question, this is the perfect time to ask. If you have any questions, let me know. So we do have a news release coming out by 1:30 p.m. That's unemployment claims on the dollar. Watch out for that. Let's see how the actual comes out as against the forecasted, because that would also play a major role in what happens with these asset classes we just looked at, because they are all dollar correlated. So what is forecasted to come out is 236K. If it comes out higher than expected, then that would be or could signify more strength going into the dollar. If it comes out actual, so what we want to see is for us to know that the economy is thriving, there was a mix-up. For us to know the economy is thriving is to see the actual less than, because this is not employment, this is unemployment. So if we have more unemployed people in the economy, then the economy is not doing so great. So that was a slight mix-up. Please correct that. If it comes out actual less than forecast, it is good for the currency, because that now means we have a lesser number of unemployed people, which generally signifies, growth. So we want to see it come out lesser than to see more strength going to the DXY. But if it comes out greater than, then we may see the DXY tank a bit more. So, Mr. Adeni Habib said, are you going to do outlook on major pair like Euro USD? So today is for commodity currencies and indices. So after this session, we're going to look at indices, NAS100, US30, and any other asset class my colleague has on his checklist for today. So tomorrow we'll now look at Euro USD. There are specific days for different asset classes. So tomorrow we'll do gold, we'll look at Euro USD, GBP USD, and yen correlated pairs. Mr. Osa said, change of character and break of structure, price retreats into it always. So if price, I'll give it a 75 to 25 possibility, probability rather, because this is the markets and there is no 100% when price retreats into a zone is going to hold. But when you study the markets and you see a certain thing play out over and over more than it fails, right, it gives you that risk to return ratio, gives you a greater reward as compared to the risk you're taking on entering that particular trade. So is it possible that price will trade into the zones we looked at and violate it? Very likely. Remember, the market does not just move by candlesticks. There are fundamentals that also follow it. So have that in mind. If fundamentals show a different thing, you would see that our technicals are not respected. It does get violated. All we need is literally one tweet from the president, President Trump, and the markets will do what it wants to do. But this is what we've studied over time, and we've seen it play out more times than it failed. That is why we're now using it. So I am using it. So please, can you help look into BTC USD? Okay, sir, but there are different days. We don't even look at BTC USD every time, just once in a while. It's mostly CFDs that we look out for and indices on sometimes, but maybe my colleague will be looking into crypto today, maybe. But there are different days for different asset classes. All right, thank you so much for joining. Was this helpful to somebody? Please let me know. Was this helpful? All right, thank you so much, Osas, for your feedback. Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Adini and Mr. Falade. Without taking too much more of our time, let us move into the next thing for the day and look at indices. All right, please do not go anywhere. We'll be back in less than 1 minute. Cheers. God bless.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second part of this market color session. This morning we'll be looking at the indices markets, the US 30, NAS100, and also S&P 500, looking at how those markets are currently doing this morning. All right, quickly, it's been an interesting one. So far, so good. In the market, like I mentioned, we are very, very much bullish, right, across board. Even if we saw a temporary sell, and that was on Tuesday, right? We had some temporary sell off in this market, but then, like I mentioned, everything's still pointing to the market being bullish, not even neutral for now. Everything is pointing to the market being bullish. And for that reason, what we can do or what we should do is to actually wait for technicals to align with fundamental, especially on US equities. You want to ensure that you are in alignment with fundamental, right? Rather than being in sync with only technical and then price end up taking you out because you are counter trading. All right. That being said, on the daily time frame, our position still remains very the same. We're waiting for price to come and sweep this liquidity zone above this double bottom here, first and the second, of price to sweep above it. And one of our confirmation or one of our reason for doing this or waiting for this is because on US 100 and S&P 500, this situation already happened, right? We've seen a clear of previous old high, right? And then we're expecting that price also does the same to US 30, right? So on the daily time frame, we are very, very much bullish. However, price is beginning to retrace. So looking at these zones, we have some interesting areas. We can expect a push, like a not retracement, like a bounce off from price, right? Price comes to this zone and bounces to the upside. That's a potential play in the market. Why is that so? We have like a breakout block here. Price came to this zone and then broke through this other block without even respecting or any weak retracement, just broke through and then continue the push to the upside. So we are seeing a retracement now, which is like a minor retracement. Let me use a fib to do that. Minor retracement. This area aligns also with 50%, right? It aligns with 50%, although it's between 38.2 and also 50.0 fib level. So we'll be looking at what the market is going to do by the time the price comes to this zone, right? US 30 has been really selling, not so much, but then should I say in a range? Kind of, yes, right? But then temporarily we are beginning to see those sales in the market, which is really, really okay or normal in the market. All right, we stated very clearly on Tuesday that we are marking out these two zones, right? So that we can be sure if the market has started selling or it's just a range. So far, so good from Tuesday, yesterday, which was Wednesday. It hasn't broken above these two range that we have, right? We didn't see any break above. So it's just a thing of it's also still in a range. We want to see a clear break above. If there's a break above, if there's a breakout here, then we want to follow for a buy. If there's a breakout below here, we'll be waiting for price to come into our area of interest before we now pull the trigger. You get? All right. So on the 1 hour time frame, in this area of interest, we have this other block that's not been tested before, right? That's a potential push for the day. So if that means if it's above here, we have another block that's not been tested. We have this other block that's not been tested before. So we might see like a tap into this and then price continues the movement to the upside, right? But that's very far. Let's look at area of interest that might be really significant for today. That is around our current area. Okay, nothing really significant from 15 minutes and even 30 minutes. right? Except for the other block. And then there's no even sweep here above here to even confirm our bias to the upside. So for today on US30, most likely we just have to sit on our hands and then be patient because there's really no setup, right? For intraday play that we can bank on this morning. We just have to be patient, right? So moving to the next one, which is on US 100, which is the Nasdaq, call it US Tech. They are all the same. They are all the same. All right. On the daily time frame, what does it look like on the daily time frame? Yes, we mentioned very clearly that price is in a new area of discovery, right? And so therefore, we'll just use it as correlation for the other pairs. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why we want to buy US30 is because of this high that has broken, that US100 has broken, right? Broken previous high, right? And we are yet to see that on US30. So it's a good play for us to wait for. And we believe that once it happens, we're going to make money from it significantly. So on the 4-hour time frame, what are we waiting for? On the 4-hour time frame, this is one area I've been anticipating the market to sell into, and then we'll start buying from it. But then price hasn't gotten there, right? Instead, we just tapped into this fair value gap, and then we use the fair value gap instead of the other block and to move to the upside. That's just the downside of, waiting for US100 sometimes. You just want to use probably the other block or the fair value gap closest to price before New York market opens, right? So if that's the case, we'll have gotten this trade opportunity. But I was very confident about the other block, especially on the 4-hour time frame, which eventually price didn't get to that zone. I mean, it's one of those things. You just have to take it the way it is, right? But right now, I'm looking at something really, really interesting here: market structure and liquidity. I'm assuming that okay, we're breaking structure here. Broken structure to the upside here, this zone here. It's a weak break of structure, but it's still a break of structure, right? Broken structure to the upside here. So I want to see how price is going to react from this zone. I have some zones marked out. There's a fair value gap here. There's another block below here, right? There's a fair value gap, another block below here, and also this zone in totality, right? Meaning if for any reason price prints a wick below and taps this, we should see that push to the upside again, right? Using market structure and liquidity strategy, a variation of box pattern, right? So meaning for any reason I see a tap into this fair value, there's a fair value gap above, that's another area of interest. Another block just below it, another area of interest. Then finally, this entire area, price sweeping it and then pushing to the upside. That's another area of interest that is very close to the current price action we have for now. The other one is our 4-hour order block, which is still far. You can see where it is here, right? It's quite far from where price is. So most times price might not even want to come this far before it starts pushing to the upside again. So that's why we are having these areas marked out. One of the things I'll be doing today, since today's Thursday, I'll just be watching the market closely instead of actively trading this market, because unlike last week where everything was very clear, we had clear-cut area of interest, that price was tapping into our zones, and then we're taking quality trades. This week looked a bit dicey. So for that reason, I just don't want to jump and then enter the market anyhow, not giving last week's profits away. Also, we have the same kind of setup on S&P 500. On the daily time frame, we are still very, very much bullish. All of them, we are bullish. Regardless of the sell we're having now, I'm very, very much bullish until fundamental changes, right? Trump says something that negates the market, right? I believe that will come up very soon, which I mentioned on Tuesday. By August 1st, we'll be announcing the tariff plan, situation around the tariff plan, right, with US. So I believe that should, in a way, shake the market a bit, depending on the outcome or the interpretation of whatever statements he releases, right? So I believe that should change to shake the market a bit. And if it's a positive one, meaning that the US equity will still rally to the upside again. But if it's negative and it's significant, then we should see a sell-off, a rapid sell-off, right? Around that period. All right, that being said, on the daily time frame on S&P 500, we're very, very much bullish. However, we still have some zone that price could come to on the daily time frame. Fair value gaps, a lot of fair value gaps, a lot of inefficiency in price gaps and all of this. So, but let's come to 4-hour time frame. If there's any immediate, okay, on the 4-hour time frame, this looks like a place price could come and then, you know, find solace. We have this other block here. You have a fair value gap above it, although this week I've tested the fair value gap, but then it can still come again. So we have this other block on the 2-hour time frame. Let me see how that looks, right? Looks really interesting. So price can still actually come to this zone and then tap into these other blocks for it to continue pushing to the upside. That's a possibility in this market. Let me look for intraday trades. Okay, this looks really valid. This looks really valid. But the question still remains, will price want to come to this zone? If we see like a sell-off before 2:30 or 2:30 in the afternoon into this zone, then we should expect that New York markets open will send this price to the upside. We'll see that rally, right? But if we don't get to see that before New York market open, most likely, if this market is going to buy, it's just be a tap on this other block. We just see something ridiculous like this, right? A tap, yeah, tap into this and then continue. But if we're able to see that sell-off into this zone, then we should see New York markets, you know, fly to the upside. That's if we are retaining our bullishness. All right, that's what we have for today, this morning. Nothing really interesting in terms of active, you know, position in the markets, unlike last week. But this is where we are this week, and this is what the market is giving us, and this is what we'll make do with it. All right, it's a good place to ask a question. Let me go to the comment section. I'm saying, can you check? Please, can you help look at BTC USD? If you're on a trade, you are looking for somebody to confirm your bias. That will not be so nice, right? But let's look at BTC very quickly. On BTC, okay. So breaking is previous high, I want to believe, by a week. Oh, okay, broke its previous high by a week. On the daily time frame, we have this other block here. We have this zone also above here. Okay. On the 4-hour time frame, let me look at what the market is saying. On the 4-hour time frame, this fair value gap is really significant. This fair value gap is really significant on the 4-hour time frame. But this year. So we might see price tapping into this fair value gap, or even 50% of the fair value gap, and then continues to the upside, right? That's like the closest play available to our point of interest. However, if for any reason all of this gets violated, we have a lot of confluence around this zone. This should send price back to the upside again, right? Significantly. Let's look at the 1-hour time frame. On the 1-hour time frame, it's still very much significant. This fair value gap, right? It's still very, very much significant. So that's what I'm looking out for. That's what I'll be expecting for BTC USD. I don't actively trade BTC except if I see something really, really unique before I dabble into it. All right, I believe, Mr. Isaac, your question has been answered, right? Okay, I see we have no other question. Thank you for joining this morning session. We'll be reconvening again by 2 p.m. in the afternoon, so we can look at the market once again. And if there's anything that's changed significantly, we can correct and realign our biases in that market. Please be reminded, if you've not registered, ensure you do. TBC Abuja is on the 2nd of August. Ensure you register so that you can your space can be saved, right, and be reserved for you. All right, thank you so much for joining once again. We'll meet again by 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Cheers and God bless, guys.